I got up this morning and I thought, what is that feeling? I'm hungry or something, but it's not quite hunger. And I realized I was a little nervous. I haven't been nervous in like 12 years of teaching because I'm not talking about amino acids or amino acid chemistry today. Wish I could. But rather, what I'm going to talk about today is what I think to be most vital. And the title of my talk, and we'll figure out why this is called in a bit. It's called Broken Scooters and Shattered Light Bulbs by Brian Hogan and slides mostly by my son, Jake Hogan. So I know when you look at me, you think, and you just heard that bio, you're like, wow, that guy's got his act together. He's got styling gel in his hair today. He's got a suit jacket on. He is the model of professionalism, erudition, and what a college professor should be. But those of you who know me a little bit better know that I'm truly just deep down inside a misfit and a scoundrel of sorts. But what I want to share with you today is a story. I'm not really good at that many things. In fact, I don't have really that many marketable skills. But I'm good at telling stories. And today I'm going to tell you stories, and I hope that in telling this story, you'll be able to make some connections, and hopefully there'll be some things that resonate with my story that resonate in your life. Because when I was your age, I really wish that somebody had given me some of these little bits of wisdom. And these are merely suggestions. As some of you who are in my class know, I always say, this is America, you can do whatever you want within certain constitutional limits. Right? These are just merely suggestions based on my life experience. And there's certainly plenty of things that I don't think you should do. But let's get started. So Broken Scooters and Shattered Light Bulbs by Brian Hogan, slides by Jake Hogan. Next slide. A boy named Sue. This is sort of a novella. This is to the best of my recollection. This is how I perceived me growing up. And if you ask my mom, it's probably slightly different, the details. But this is just how I perceived what was going on in my life. I often joke that I grew up like the New Jersey version of A Boy Named Sue. You know that Johnny Cash song? My dad left home when I was 3. My mom didn't leave much to maul on me. It's this old guitar and empty bottle. I grew up quick and I grew up mean and my fists got hard and my wits got keen. And that's how I like to think of myself. I don't know that's how I was. But I had a great childhood up until I had a great childhood, period. And at age 14, there was tension in the family, and I felt this sort of tear in the family fabric, and I knew something was up, and I didn't know what was up. And one day my mom just said, me, you, and your sister were moving. And we're going to go live with your grandmother, who was senile at the time, and was on the road down towards Alzheimer's. And there's an Irish saying, we didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw down. And suddenly my whole life was turned upside down. Because I had all these friends, I had gone to 9 years of Catholic school, and finally gotten out, and I was in public school, and then I was going back to Catholic school. I'm not going to belabor you with the details of that affair, but let's just say that it was decided after one semester, or marking period at DePaul High School, that it would be best if Brian didn't come back. So, I went back to public school, and my mom said, listen, I got enough trouble going on in my life. I don't need you causing me any more grief. So just do me a favor and knock it off. And try and straighten up and fly away. And I said, yes, Mom, I'll do my best. So I went to my third high school I was in my third school in 3 years. And I'm the new kid again. And I hated being the new kid, and I lost all of my close friends, or who I thought were my close friends. And I had to figure out a way to fit in. So what I did was I developed a tool set for life as a young man. And here's my toolkit. Ready? These are not good tools for living your life. I was really angry and resentful and full of fear, no capital letters there. And selective use of truth, that's a good way of saying I was a liar. I never asked anyone for help. I thought of myself as being this tough guy who could always pull himself up by his bootstraps. I didn't need anybody to shut up, get out of my way. I'm not going to trust anyone. Be super defensive at all times, and make sure that I can always cut bait and run. All right? So there are people, places, and things that I can just cut bait and go. And this is what I developed as my tool set for living, which served me okay in high school. What I left off of there was I also became a master of facades. It's like some sort of strange kabuki theater that I could, whatever group I was in, I could put on whatever face you wanted. And, you know, I would forget, I never really knew who I was, so I would just like put on whatever face so that I could fit in. And, you know, high school was fine, and I got through it, and I left though with a couple of issues. Then I realized that I just thought, well, I'm a giant fraud, and I thought that was just part of being Irish and Catholic. But apparently there's this thing called imposter syndrome. And I had to look it up, and here it is. This is a very wordy slide, but it's from Wikipedia, so it's got to be true. And these people internalize their accomplishments and display all of their confidence in all the things that they've achieved. They still deep down inside believe that anything that they've accomplished that's good is due to luck or timing or deceiving others. I was pretty good at that. And thinking that people are going to find out someday that I'm going to be a fraud, that I'm going to be found out. It's most common in high-achieving women. That footnote, I guess, is not right. And also among other demographics, like African Americans, which I don't fall into that category, but I do fall into, I was a graduate student, and I do work at a university. So I fit this imposter syndrome definition fairly well. Going to college, Sue. Okay, but I'm a giant phony. Unlike maybe many of you in this room, I didn't really have a plan for going to college. My mom told me that I should go to college. She was a secretary, and she worked as a secretary, and she's very opinionated that she's not an administrative assistant. She was a secretary, and she went to secretarial school. And she said, you gotta go to college. So my brother went to college, my older brother, my younger sister went to college. But I didn't like take any AP classes or an SAT prep course or anything like that. I had no life plan except for being angry, resentful, and feeling like a fraud. And I went to my guidance counselor and I said, all right, I gotta go to college, says my mom. So I'm gonna apply to 2 schools. I'm gonna apply to Rutgers University and Trenton State College, which is now called the College of New Jersey. They changed the name right after I left, and it's gotten much better since I left. And my guidance counselor, who went to NC State, said, you'd be lucky if you get into the Trenton State College. You're lucky, forget about it. And maybe Rutgers. I was like, well, thank you, guidance counselor. I making me feel worse than I already feel. I've always felt less than and compared myself to others, and here I am. And back to imposter syndrome, the reality was that I got into Trenton State College, and I got a scholarship called Horatio Alger Scholar. And Horatio Alger Scholarship, my friend's dad was a history teacher, and he invited me. He saw that I needed some mentorship. He saw something in me that I didn't know I had. He saw that I was smart. And he said, hey Brian, why don't you come over and watch this basketball game with us? They had cable. And I was like, sweet, yeah, I'll come over and watch the game. And he pulled a trick on me. Before I could watch the game, he made me fill out the application for this scholarship. And so I went through it pretty quickly and I put it in the door and send it off. And Horatio Alger was a real person, a rags to riches story, overcame, I don't even know the whole story. Anyway, it's given to one person in each state, only one. And I got it. Thank you, Walt Angley. He helped me get that scholarship. And I went to college and I did fine there. In fact, if you look at my academics, I think I was on the dean's list 7 of 8 semesters. I 4.0 in my last 3 semesters, including one semester where I took a 3-credit course called aerobic dance. I graduated magna cum laude. I had a lot of positive mentorship, and that's where I met my wife in Bio 101. Many of you have heard me tell that story, which I'm not going to share with you today. But my analysis of this was, when I got to college, I was like, whoa, I don't deserve to be here. This isn't for me. I'm totally clueless compared to all these other people. They're going to realize that I am a gigantic phony. This Horatio Alger scholarship, this is given to somebody who's overcome something horrible in their life. So they're just pitying me, and I'm the first place loser. Like, great, thanks for singling me out. And I never asked anyone for help. And I grew angry during the college years. And it took me 3 years to ask my wife out during college. That's another whole story. I'll let her tell that. But here's the quote for me when I was new tools gained from college. Ready? Anger, alcohol, and cigarettes should fuel you through your 20s. Make sure you run very far from your problems. Depression is simply part of being Irish. Be defensive so that others feel like they are walking on eggshells. And at this point in time, this was the early 90s, the grunge scene, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, it was cool to be angry. So I fit in. I was like, I can wear that facade. I'd be like, I can do that. I enjoy being angry. What do you want me to be angry about? Doesn't matter. So I'm good at being angry, man. And that really didn't help out my tool set for life. And I really wasn't figuring out who I was, because again, I was just trying to fit in with whatever crowd it was. And I had some great mentors in college that tried to show me that, hey Brian, you've got something special in you. You can be a scholar. You can do something better. And Dr. Albert Ebel was one of them. And he put me on notice. I goofed off on my first biology exam. And then he did that. I took the second biology exam. And before he gave me mine, he said, everyone I want to introduce you to the young and lovely Kelly Lee. She got the highest grade in the class. You should all remember to be as smart as her. And I was like, whatever, Kelly Lee. And he told me to smoke you on the next exam. But I never did. And he didn't give me my exam. Right? I figured, well, he just got things cheap. So I go to his office in this creepy, dingy biology building, and he's drinking orange juice out of a beaker. and I said, listen, I know you think I cheated. And he said, he just cut me off, and he said, Hogan, what are you doing in my class? Just effing around? But he said the great guy of all customers. And he was like 70, and I'd never been cussed at by somebody who's card-carrying member of the AARP. And he said, you better straighten up and fly ready, you're gonna answer to me. And what he saw in me was that I had some intelligence and that I had some skill. But now I lived in fear that if I didn't do well in my classes, I'd get my butt kicked by this older gentleman. Nevertheless, I never did do better than the young and lovely Kelly Lee on any exam. So my life advice is always if you can't do better than on an exam, get married. The other love, Kelly Hogan. Okay, so I go to college and I get some good advice, but I still have this toolkit that is not really all that helpful. In fact, it's helping me make terrible decisions. So, really, Ryan? Yeah, I made every possible mistake. Life is not linear. There's this idea in modern, among students that I talk to, that you can get from A to B by just following this prescribed path. And that there's never any obstacles in your way, and it's always, you just do this, and this. I'm living proof that you can get from there to here by literally making just about every mistake imaginable. Whenever I had the chance to make the right choice or the wrong choice, I made the wrong choice. Data point. My girlfriend, my wife, and I decided that we would go to graduate school near each other. She got accepted to the University of North Carolina. I got accepted to NC State. She came to the University of North Carolina. I went to the University of Arizona. All right. I was using my toolkit, which wasn't a very good one. I was cut and bait and running because I was scared. I was full of fear. I didn't know what was going on in my life. This was crazy, cucamonga. I'm just going to run away. I get inspiration from a lot of different places, from a lot of different books. I really love Kid President. And Kid President said, 2 roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. And it hurt, man. Really bad. Rocks and thorns. Not cool, Robert Frost. All right? So every opportunity I had to make the right turn or the wrong turn, I took the wrong turn. And which leads me to this next point. What if there really were 2 paths, says Kid President? I want to be on the one that leads to awesome. Now I feel like I'm on the road that leads to awesome. But back then I was definitely not on the road that led to awesome. And the last one is, at some point, just like that dude in Journey said, don't stop believing unless your dream is stupid. And you should get it out of your dream. My dream was always to be a college professor. But I went to the University of Arizona and realized I had made the most horrible mistake in my life. And I'm going to talk about something that maybe y'all don't talk about that much because there's a stigma associated with it. Yeah, I started to deal with what I now look back on as clinical depression. I became clinically depressed, but I didn't ask anyone for help. And given my toolkit for life, I packed up all my stuff and I drove back to New Jersey with my tail between my legs, and I had now just fulfilled my own self-fulfilling prophecy, if that makes any sense, that I'm a fraud, I shouldn't be in graduate school, I shouldn't be dreaming big, I don't deserve my, oh, by the way, I broke up with Kelly before I left. Well, and I had to go back and try and win her love back, which I did. And that's another story. And I kind of gave up on my dream for a while. I thought my dream was stupid. Meanwhile, she's chugging through. There are some exceptional people in this world that really can get from point A to B by doing things, and she's one of them. For the rest of us, the 99% of us, that's not always the case. And I had to sort of bumble along, and I worked in academia, and I worked in industry, and finally one day Kelly said, listen, don't give up on your dream. We were driving to New Jersey, it was around Thanksgiving, and she said, why don't you try one more time? Why don't you try graduate school one more time? And I was like, okay, I'll try one more time. And she said, why don't you apply to the University of North Carolina? And I said, okay. And she said, the chemistry department. And I said, I got C's in chemistry. But, and they're a top 10 chemistry department. So my fraudulence will quickly become apparent once I get there and realize that I'm not who I purport to be. But nevertheless, I did go to graduate school here in this chemistry department that I love. And life gets complicated once you become an adult. This is me and Kelly, or Kelly and I, whatever's grammatically correct, at the top of Mount Lemmon in Tucson, Arizona. And you can see like how cool I was. And Kelly looks exactly the same. You know, what goes on when you're in graduate school? It's a really stressful time, but it's also a pretty wonderful time. And some wonderful things happen in that time. Like we got married, and we got jobs, and we started to build up careers, and we started to have small mammals. Right. So this is my son Jake, not a Tar Heel. The Tar Heel born and the Tar Heel bred. And this is Lexi. This is shortly after we adopted her from our mom. And this is the time when having these small mammals entered my life, and the stress of being an adult started to really take its toll on me. Because the life kit that I had, believing that I was an imposter of some sort, being angry, being defensive, pushing people away, isolating from people, that was not helping. That was not a good way to live my life. And in fact, it was robbing me of experiencing the things that should have been giving me great joy. So I'm going to share with you a pivotal moment in my life. After my son Jake was born, my wife was re-hospitalized after 8 days. And it was terrible. And I have an 8-year-old son, and he was only this big, and he was on my arms, and here we are in the CR room, and there's all these doctors, and you know, everyone's trying to help us, but no one can help us. The things are going from bad to worse very, very quickly. And eventually this amazing physician, she was about this tall and Asian, and I don't know her name, I assume she still is Asian. She came into the room and she immediately took over and she said, "Get that woman into that super secret room immediately. And you, husband, you stay right where you are." And I said, "Okay." And then an attending physician came back, and funny, that doesn't normally happen. What they said to me was, "If you have anything that you need to say to your wife, you should probably say it now." And that's not good news. And here's exactly what I said to my wife. I said, "Kelly, you can't leave me. I can't do this by myself." I didn't say I love you with all my heart and soul. I said, "You can't leave me," because I didn't believe that I could do being a parent. I was so afraid at that point that all I could say to her were those words. And luckily, the doctors did wonderful things. They gave a bunch of platelets, and my son Jake, when he was age 7, he went to a shirt, and Kelly has a public service Annapolis course about donating platelets. And if you ever see the sign over there that says "Platelet saved my mommy's life," now you know who the mommy was. This was not good for Brian's psyche. I started to spiral down. And, you know, this in combination with some other factors in my life, I began to mentally and physically begin to break down. All the tools that I had to deal with life were not working anymore. I mean, I could go to work and wear one facade, and then I would go somewhere else and wear another facade, but it was getting very hard to keep track of like who I was trying to be who with and what lies I told what people. And that really took up a lot of mental energy. And I didn't realize that I was starting to get very sick. And I haven't looked up the definition of clinical depression. I probably should, but they diagnosed me with it. I couldn't be happy. Here I am, a professor at this university with a wonderful wife, 2 beautiful children, a house, everything I ever would have wanted, and I couldn't force myself to be happy. I couldn't force myself to even be part of my own life. I did all that I knew what to do, which was to be defensive, keep people on their heels, and to pull back. And so instead of living my life, it was like I was watching my life go by, like some sort of movie. And I was not an active participant in it. And those were some really, really, really dark days. And we were outside one day, and Jake was maybe about 2 years old. This wasn't a scooter, but it was a scooter similar to this. And he was just being a 2-year-old. I don't know what he did. But I have no recollection of why I did it. But I took this scooter and I threw it about 25 yards across my backyard. And it broke. And he cried. And my wife said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I said, "I have no idea what the hell is wrong with me. Like this, something is wrong, because I just broke my son's scooter, and you know how I feel on the inside? I don't feel anything. I don't feel joy. I don't feel laughter. All I feel is like a bag of broken or shattered light bulbs. That's the only way I could describe it." And Kelly said, why can't you be happy? And I said, "I don't know. I feel like I'm walking through a sea of melancholy. I just cannot break it out of it." Spiraling downward. Don't worry, it gets better than that too. I meant to do this like this was This American Life with Ira Glass. Tonight Show in 2 acts. Act 2. What happens when the man is so down, he feels like he ends up looking at the bottom of the sea. Here's Act 2. I'm not going to go into the details of the affair. It was a Monday in October, and it all hit the fan. And I had some physical issues and my mental issues, and I just bottomed out. And when I woke up that next morning, I didn't feel anything except that I was so loved. I was so beaten down. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired of the way that I felt, that for the first time in my life, I said, I got to do something different. And I had tried a million different times to try and do different things to make myself feel better. But this was the first time I needed to hit this bottom. May you never have to hit that bottom. If you feel like you're spiraling downward, please go talk to somebody. We've got counseling and wellness. We have CAPS. There are paid professionals who will talk to you about issues related to these sorts of things. Well, I didn't know that. So here I am, a crushed human, just a shattered soul, both emotionally and physically. And I had to, but this is the good part. Ready? I got to figure out who I really was. But my whole life had been based on not being honest. And the first thing that I had to do, this is a mirror from my house, was I had to get honest with myself, finally. I had to figure out who I was. And here I am looking in that mirror, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like the person who I saw back. Once I got honest with myself, and I said to Kelly, I'm afraid. I don't know if I'm going to like this person. I don't know if you're going to like this person. Maybe y'all better just go. And she showed the utmost confidence in me and said, just talk to the people you need to talk to and do what you need to do to feel better. And it took, I need to dispel a rumor. I was seen walking around. I had to take FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. If you ever need to do that, there's paperwork that can cover everything. And I was out of work, I think, for 90 days, something like that. And during that time, I had the opportunity to just focus on getting better. And it started off really slow, because I always believed that I was just this imposter or this fraud. And I always sought the approval of others. I only did things if I thought that you were going to like me better. That's how I felt good about myself. I needed the accolades from others to make me feel like I wasn't a piece of garbage. Right? So the first thing that happened, one day I happened to make the bed. And Kelly came home from work and she said, "You made the bed." And I was like, "I did." I did. I made the bed. And I didn't ask for a medal or a monument or anything. Like, holy. And then I thought, there's a dishwasher. I wonder if I can empty that. And sure enough, I could empty that dishwasher. And then I went and I talked to a paid professional about how I was feeling. Not the Hogan way. But then I was like, wow, dude, have you psychiatrists or psychologists been around for a while? Is this a new field? And they were really extremely, extremely helpful in me getting honest and figuring out how to get honest with myself. So once I kind of got on solid ground, I started to develop new life strategies and new tools. So those old tools that I developed when I was your age and earlier, those didn't work. So if you wrote those down, it's like, oh, do that, erase it. What I did was I had to start looking at how I perceived the world. And here's me, and here's the world revolving around me. And I kept saying, you know, why are my immediate needs and wants not being met? That's how I judged. That was my barometer for every day. And if my needs weren't being met, it just drove me immediately to anger. That was a good place to go to. Well, guess what? You know, if you've ever been to my class, I said, on average, what? We're all average, but in our own special way, right? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish is going to feel like it's going to spend its whole life feeling like it was stupid. I had to figure out that I'm not as important as I think I am. I have some talents. I'm fairly useful to some people. But I'm not a big deal. All right? I'm not terminally unique. There are some people, if I was to leave this university, there would be some tears. In fact, before final grades for biochemistry are handed out, there probably would be some tears of joy. But, you know, we don't say that, we would miss you. Well, you would graduate, and then they'd hire somebody else, and then that person would be cool, and I'd be replaced. But I'd still be important to my family, right? I'm important to certain people, and I'm grateful every single day to have them in my life and to have their support. Secondly, I had to realize that I didn't write the book of life. I had this, in my head, I had this play scripted out where everybody had their part. You all don't know this, but you were just supposed to follow along how 2-year-olds and 20-year-olds were supposed to act. And when you didn't follow your lines, it really pissed me off. And going along, I'm not as important as I think I am. I came to grips with the fact that this book doesn't really exist. To the next slide, if I can. The most important thing for me to do is to get one thing straight. We have a saying in the Hogan family, if you ever cross a Hogan, you're dead to us. Forever. And we mean it to a certain extent. But I was always worried about getting approval from others and accolades from others because that's how I felt good about myself. And I had to come to realize that, listen, hey, Brian, you're not that important. And all you need to do, there's two sides of every street. There's Brian's side of the street, and then there's y'all's side of the street. My job every day that I wake up and I'm grateful for is My only job is to keep my side of the street clean. What you do on your side of the street is your business. But if I can honestly look at my day and say, I've lived my life the way I want to live it, honestly and with integrity, and when I was wrong, I promptly admit it, and if I was a jerk to my kids, which I sometimes am, I go and I apologize. I've kept my side of the street clean, and I can sleep well, and I can feel good about myself. But I can't worry about what y'all are doing. So, as long as I just focus on me and keeping my side of the street clean, life is a-okay. Don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. 22-year-olds who are about to graduate, you're watching all your friends getting into medical school, getting all these offers, these awesome things, and you know, that's the kind of pain that hurts, right? And you can't sort of cover it with a smirk or just don't mess with me today. Look, you know, like that one kind of, that's a real gut shot. But don't worry. Those people who are walking around, they're not in this room, of course, but them out there who have those supercilious grins on, like, oh, look, I got into all of these schools. They feel, trust me, they're just as scared as you are about the future. They feel just like a bag of shattered light bulbs because they don't know what the heck is coming next year. And life gets really, really complex. So if you're comparing yourself to how other people look, just know that the vast majority of them probably are scared or full of fear. Being scared is okay. It's natural to be scared. Well, Ryan jumps out. That's scary. Living your life full of fear robs you of the ability to do things. And if I'm always comparing myself, my insides to other people's outsides, then all I do is live in fear. Fear of not being as good as. And I end up being a bankrupt idealist and I never try anything. I had all these awesome ideas to change the world when I was in college, but guess what I did? Nothing. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, but man, it'll just keep me down. So I'm not going to do anything about it. I was afraid to try. Jake, take this one, by the way. Okay, as you get older, guess what? The grass is never greener. It might seem like, well, once I get out of here and I get to medical school, I get my first job or dental school, then it's going to be better. It's always better over there. No, it's not. In fact, the same sort of, there's large parts of American adult life that you know nothing about. All right, boredom, to quote David Foster, boredom and tedium and just petty crap that will accumulate that you just can't do anything about. So all the sort of obnoxious, annoying things that now are going through the transient of your brain, guess what? When you get to X, Y, Z place, they're still going to be there. So how do you choose to look at them? Do you choose to look at them as, well, it's always going to be better if? Well, if you get caught in that mentality, it leads me to this bottom one here, which is if you spend 1 foot in yesterday. A class of biochemistry students one time was the last class I gave, and I said, well, everyone, that's it. We're done with electron transport chain. Have a great life. Peace. And they said, tell us some life advice. And I was like, okay. And all I could come up with was, if you spend 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, all you do is poop on today. And trust me, I'm a guy who spends a lot of time pooping on things, if I'm really trying to feed some kind of dog on it. Trust me, you only get 1 day and 1 chance. Right? We all woke up on this side of the grass today. We best make the best out of it. And then after I said that, I was like, oh, here's the course evals. And I had 175 students in my class. And I'll never forget this number. 30 4 students wrote in the comment box, "I just realized I spent my entire college life pooping on today." And it's funny, but it's sad, because here they were seniors who were graduating, and they realized, like, I missed out on it. I thought the grass was going to be greener. Damn. One from yesterday, that goes with this. Listen, I've done a lot of terrible things, and a lot of stupid things in my life. And I'm not going to tell you any of them. But I've completely given up on having a better past. You get it? It's done. There's water under the bridge, right? I don't regret it, but I'm not going to shut the door on it because I can learn from those mistakes. But I can't change that past. But what I can do is live for today. Jake's slide. The best thing I can do for myself is to do something nice for someone else and expect nothing in return. I began, after this period of soul searching and reading philosophy and listening to music and going digging deep into literature, this concept of putting your principles before your personality. What do I really believe in? Once I figured out what I really believed in, and the things that I really liked and the things that were really important to me, what I found was that I needed to be of service to other people. And you might look at my resume and go, wow, that guy does a bunch of stuff. Well, one of the reasons why I do a bunch of stuff is because I need to keep myself busy. Because if I'm not busy, then the squirrels get running in my brain, and sometimes they tell me crazy things. I start thinking too much about it, and if I don't feel good, maybe I don't feel good about myself. But if I go out and I help somebody, and I'm of service to somebody else, man, that just comes back in spades. And I don't know, I mean, there's been some really incredible moments in my life where I had the opportunity to interact with people who I've helped in some way, shape, or form, and I didn't realize the impact that I had on their lives. So as you go out into this world and you start interacting with more and more people, think about the impact that you're having. Just saying something nice. That Carinese family in front of you who's trying to buy the 16 gallons of milk and they don't speak English and it's really hard. Just when you get some money, just pay for it. And move on. And you don't need a medal or a monument or a parade. Or I don't, maybe you do. Okay? You go home and just say, I did something nice. I'm in service to the rest of humanity. Jake's slide. Tibi ipsi habere fides. Anybody take Latin? What does that mean? Have faith in yourself. Until thine own self be true. If you're not true to yourself, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror every single day, as far as this is me speaking, if I can't look at myself in the mirror every single day and be happy with the guy that I see, because for so many years I wasn't, then I need to recheck what my priorities are. I need to have faith in myself and always believe in what I think is right and do what I think is honest and true. There's this guy, ESPN did a 30 for 30 documentary about his name is Chris Herron, and he had a terrible heroin problem, and when he was in rehab, and for all of his years prior to going to rehab, he always brushed his teeth and shaved in the shower because he couldn't stand to look at himself in the mirror, even for those couple of minutes that it took to shave or brush his teeth. And then after he got out of rehab and he got his life squared away and he started living it the way that he wanted to live it, he was able to look at himself in the mirror again. And if nothing else, I mean, this is the most important thing in my life. I need to be faithful to myself. I need to be of service to other people. And I'm a pretty stupid guy. For a guy who's really pretty smart, I'm pretty stupid. So I actually have this tattooed on my leg. Really, I do. So that every single day when I wake up, I remind myself, oh yeah, make sure that you're true to yourself. This is my last slide before I say thanks. This is a quote from a friend who died too early as far as I'm concerned. His name was Joe Collins. And Joe started a group called From Houses to Homes in Guatemala. And he started it based on a dream. Remember what I said about being a bankrupt idealist? He wasn't. He had this idea that he was going to build homes and build communities and make life better for people in Central America. He started with $1,200 in his pocket. And over the course of almost 10 years, they've built almost 900 homes for families and integrated themselves into the community. And when I built homes with them, and when we were building the school in the village that I worked in, he told me this. He said, Brian, remember to dream big, but go slow. Listen to others, and never stop believing in yourself. That's what I want you to all remember. Remember that you can dream as big as you want to dream, but it ain't going to happen overnight, people. The problem with instant gratification is that it's just not fast enough, right? But sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, good things are always going to happen if you're willing to work for it. So make sure that you dream big. I lived a long period of my life not dreaming big, but now I have really big dreams. And in fact, Kelly used to tell me times like, ooh, I can't. That one's half a bubble off plum. Listen to people. Talk to lots of people. Get lots of information. Don't make rash decisions, Brian. You're not ready to make rash decisions. And that's usually me. I gotta bounce this idea off my life. And never stop believing in yourself. As long as you have your own ethos, you have your own worries, you have your own code, you're going to be okay. All of us, when we woke up this morning, we had high-speed internet access and clean drinking water. Most of the world doesn't. Right? Most of the problems in my life are merely inconveniences. I need to remind myself of that. So with that, I have nothing else more grandly inspirational to say other than thank you for having me here. And I purposely didn't include any pictures of me when I was miserable, except for that one. I want to thank, first of all the folks who invited me and all the students who wrote me letters. Thank you very much for thinking that I might have something useful to say. I want to thank my wife Kelly, my son Jake, and my daughter Lexi, and thank you all in much love from Team Hogan, and may you go out and live your life to its fullest. Thank you.
Everyone in this room, we just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us, and you can be more deserving of this award. Thank you.